Good afternoon. Welcome. Thank you for joining us. This is the City Council meeting, combined work session and regular council session for the City of Marion City Council, Tuesday, July 7th, 2026. Thank you for joining us. Please rise and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Please be seated. Roll call, please.
Mr. Miskman?
Here.
Mr. Uniman?
Here.
Mr. Jensen?
Here.
Mayor Abu Osley?
Present.
Mr. Brandt?
Here.
Ms. Menzer? Here. Mr. Harper?
Here. This time we have a moment of silence. Thank you. First item on the agenda this evening is our first public forum. We do have two public forums at our meetings. The first one is for all comments from members of the public, which are on topics which are listed on the agenda but not associated with a public hearing. If anyone is here to address something that is part of a public hearing, there will be time during the public hearing to make comments. And then there will be a second comment period at the end of the meeting for all other comments that are not listed on the agenda. I would like to review the rules of procedure for public forums. There are yellow cards at the end of the table. Anyone wishing to address council should fill out a yellow card and deliver it to the city clerk before speaking. When it's your turn to speak, please approach the dais. Please approach the podium and speak into the microphone as the meetings are recorded. Please do not approach the dais where the council is sitting. If you have any handouts to submit to the council, please give those to the city clerk for distribution to the council. You're encouraged to state your name and address and any group affiliation. And anyone wishing to speak will have a maximum of 5 minutes to make comments. Please avoid repeating any comments or points made by previous speakers. Speakers should not engage in conduct that disrupts the orderly progress of the meeting or engage in speech or conduct which interferes with other people's ability to participate in the meeting. Please do not engage in conduct or speech that is imminently threatening to any person or which incites violence or which is obscene. Please refrain from making any disparaging remarks regarding any individual, but keep the comments pertinent to the topic at hand. Failure to adhere to the guidelines or engaging in any disruptive speech or behavior will, after a warning, result in removal from the meeting. Appreciate everyone's cooperation and adhering to these guidelines. So the first public forum is now open. Anyone wishing to address council on any topic that is listed on the agenda but not associated with the public hearing, please come forward at this time. Okay, seeing no one is coming forward, we will proceed to the consent agenda.
Mayor, I move to approve the consent agenda as follows. Items A1 through F2, resolutions 32916 through 32942.
Second. It's been moved and seconded to approve the consent agenda as presented, including items A1 through F2, resolutions 32916 through 32942. Discussion. Do we have comments from the clerk? Okay.
Yeah, there's two items that staff would like to speak more about.
Okay.
Yes, Your Mayor, on council. So we just wanted to highlight this item in case there were any questions. So this approves a contract with Eide Bailey to provide the city's financial statement preparation and audit readiness services. So as council may recall, in fiscal year 25 was the first year that we separated our financial statement preparation from the audit itself. That change was made to strengthen our segregation of duties and address prior audit recommendations. So Hogan Hansen had provided these services as they had in the past, but they provided them in this first year. It was a challenging engagement, largely because it was a new arrangement for both parties. Our engagement lead, who was a CPA, had moved on with Hogan Hansen, which resulted in actually no CPA working on our financial statements. So their resources were definitely stretched thin. And as a result, the level of support was not what we had anticipated. So Hogan Hansen decided themselves to terminate this contract. So staff, we evaluated available firms and we are recommending Eide Bailey. So they have significant governmental accounting experience, being a large firm with a strong presence in Iowa, and they do have the resources to provide greater continuity over the life of this engagement. I did get a chance to meet with them more at the GFOA conference last week, which kind of further strengthened my confidence in them. So this proposed agreement is a 4-year contract, which aligns with our current audit contract, which would provide consistency through the fiscal year 29 audit. So I know that Council Member Uniman had previously asked several questions about this item to staff. This agreement is consistent with the previous contract that we had in both scope and in overall approach. The only difference is that there would be a change in the service provider. So staff is requesting an exception to the purchasing policy, given the limited timeline that we have before we're actually just entering fiscal year 27. So for the audit prep to start now for fiscal year 26, if we did conduct a full procurement competitive bid, that would create unnecessary risk to meeting our reporting guidelines. So I just wanted to flag this and open up for any questions.
Any questions? Any comments?
Your Honor. Yeah.
We'll start with Councilmember Uniman, and then we'll go to Harper.
I know in my previous email to Leanne, I asked, this is a core financial department function. What have we done to see if we can bring this in-house instead of passing it from a firm to another firm?
So the arrangement that we had was for 5 years with Hogan Hansen. We found that there is a lot of cities that kind of rely on maybe one staff member to prepare the financial statements. As of this moment, we do not have the ability to do that. We do not have the expertise. We don't have the training. It's something that we have talked about as staff, but for now, for the contracted services, there are other cities that do this also. It's the model that for right now, with our resources that we have, we determined when we went out for the contract the last time that it would be in the best interest of the city for this contracted services, for the stability, to have a national firm do this. I understand that there is other cities in Iowa and across the nation that do this in-house. As of right now, we just don't have the staff and the resources. So
I have a follow-up question. You mentioned that you reached out to other firms. How do we settle with them for this contract? And why are we giving them a 4-year plan if we're trying to create a stopgap for the next audit?
could you repeat the first part of the question?
How did we settle on Eide Bailey?
Okay.
And my next question is, why are we giving them a 4-year contract if we can give them a 1-year contract with a renewal of 1 year if they meet expectations?
So Eide Bailey, we interviewed 3 firms for this, and we went through the process with our staff. We We interviewed them like an RFP process, but this way it enabled us to interview them, but just not have to go through the full like 3, 4, 5 month process. And so Ide Bailey they were very strong in all departments that we had evaluated. So we did do our rigor there. As for the 4-year contract, it aligns. We have a 5-year audit contract. So for consistency purposes, staff is recommending that we align. So we've had that first year and we have 4 years left with our current auditors. So for consistency, to have that 4-year of one firm, it takes a lot for a firm to come on and learn our financial systems, map all of our accounts, and get to know us and get to know our systems and our workings as a department. So I feel that a 1-year contract would not be beneficial in this stage, because then they'd be on board, they'd do all the work, and then they'd be off board again. So we felt that aligning with the audit contract, which aligns with the previous contract with Hogan Hansen, makes the most sense right now. You want to add something, Ryan?
Yeah. And the other thing too, Councilman Uniman, just for historical context, so this is before you came on council. When we were going through the last audit with the then sitting city council, with the segregation of duties, which is a fairly common finding in the audit. This is a recommendation from staff that we wanted to pursue this to eliminate that finding. And support everything Brian said about in terms of having it line up, the cost, the staff time associated with bringing somebody on after a year wouldn't necessarily be efficient. And then just going back to your other question about, does it make sense to bring in-house? The cost of providing the service through this contractual arrangement is actually less than if we were to bring on a staff person, full-time, added benefits, and then the associated training and technology. So, and with the recent property tax reform, in terms of what that impact, our team's still going through and doing that analysis. So at this point in time, from a financial perspective, this is what staff feels makes the most sense. Obviously, that's a council decision, but that's our recommendation. But as the council knows, if we have something come up, we're constantly looking at, is this something better in-house or outsourced? And that's going to be based on the financial resources.
Good. Councilmember Harper?
Yeah, thank you. You mentioned the segregation of duties, which I think that was a point in prior audits, was a point of concern for me. So effectively, this addresses that concern. I just want to be clear with that.
Yes.
Okay. Somewhat thinking about whether this was an in-house or contracted activity, one of the advantages that I see keeping it as contracted, at least for this next cycle, is it allows us to have some external expertise that has exposure to several other potential municipalities to help highlight issues that we need to maybe be attended to that we maybe wouldn't have necessarily from our own resources working on this internally. So I think there's a hidden benefit there. And certainly the cost factor, Ryan, that you mentioned, I think is an important thing for us. But I think we should just keep this in mind as we move through this next contract cycle, and see if that determination still makes sense at a later date.
Any other comments? Go ahead.
Yeah, just 2 quick comments to back up what Ryan's talking about. I mean, the estimated cost for this for the city is going to be about $50,000. If you bring somebody on staff for this capability, that's going to be probably at least three times that with all of the benefits. And plus, this is only a year-end service need. So there's not a year-round need for somebody with this capability. So it's only year-end service, and the price is better than hiring somebody in-house. So I think this is the right direction.
Let me just make sure everyone else has had a chance first, and then we can come back. Is that okay, council member? Okay. Anyone else have a comment or a question? Okay, please go ahead.
We're measuring all the cons without mentioning any pros. All the pros without mentioning any cons. We hired the firm. We paid them a certain amount because we felt bringing someone in-house would be more expensive. As of today, we're still trying to get our audit done for 2025. So if we're mentioning the pros, we should also mention the cons that comes attached to hiring a firm that if they're running late on delivery, there's nothing we can do than wait. So before making the decision, I'd say let's look at it from both sides.
Thank you. Do you have anything else to add?
Yeah, so I just wanted to add, so Hogan Hansen, who had our agreement, so they have been doing our financial statement preparation for a long time. We've obviously grown as a city, and this was the first year that the audit was separate. So this was really a different year compared to before. And so, like I said, the resources were thin. We've outgrown them as a city. Bailey are so the comparison for Bailey and Hogan Hansen is night and day. They have the resources, as a council member Harper said, with their government division. I have confidence that there are experiences from this past year will not be repeated.
Are there consequences in the contract for delay in delivery?
There is not. Either party can terminate at either time, but there is a scope of work. There's all the agreements that we have in place, what they have agreed to do. But there is no consequences. But I'll just say that our audit firm have been great. It's been a great relationship with Bergen KDV this past year, and they have supported us through this transition with Hogan Hansen. So that's another backstop that we do have. They have been very, very great to work with. So I have extreme confidence there too.
Okay, go ahead. Councilmember Menzer?
Just 1 second again. So the fumble of this timeline, we don't have anything, is it normal to have something in a contract that if they don't meet the deadline for filing, that there is a financial penalty to them for not meeting our expectations, rules, regulations, whatever, how you want to define it? And is that, if it's not, is that something that's in this new contract?
I'm not aware that that's a normal
Okay.
term to have in a contract.
No.
You want to? Okay. Anyone else? Okay, you had another item you wanted to discuss on the consent agenda? D19?
Yes, Your Honor. So I just wanted to bring to light this item. I know this has been asked about, and it was put in the CIP for this fiscal year. So these are the barricades that rather than put a tandem dump truck to block the west end, and then having whoever is having the event blocking the east end, so then they can move the vehicles should they need to. This is a system that after approval, it would take 30 days to get here. There is training that would be required so that we set it up properly because it's all interconnected. So there's safety training so that it's set up correctly so that it is acts how it should be. It does come on 2 trailers, as you see there. You can kind of see on the left side a blow up of what those things look like when the car hits them. And then it has a gate, and that way fire, EMS, police can then open that gate and come through, and we don't have to have a tandem truck up there parked or cars that you got to find the owners to and have them move. So there's a lot of benefits in this system. And so if there's any questions on it, but it is a 30-day time period from approval at City Council before they get here, and then the training that would be required to make sure that we're certified to install it properly for each event. But just wanted to open up for any questions.
Questions? Okay, so we have on the floor the motion and a second to approve the consent agenda as presented. Is there any desire to pull anything off of that for separate consideration, or we'll make sure we have that opportunity? Okay. So then we'll vote. All those in favor of approving the consent agenda as presented, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, say no. Okay, the motion is approved. For the next section, I'll turn over the meeting to the Mayor Pro Tem.
Mayor Pro Tem, I move the motion to approve the consent agenda with Mayor Abdulaziz as absentia as follows. Item D1, E1, Resolution 32943 to 32944.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve the consent agenda with Mayor Abu Asli's abstention, items D1, E1, and resolutions 32943 and 32944. Is there any discussion on these items? Seeing none, all those in favor of approving the consent agenda with Mayor Abu Asli's abstention, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say no. The consent agenda is approved. Meeting's back to the mayor.
Thank you. On to the regular agenda. The first item is a public comment period regarding no parking within the area bounded by 10th Street to the west, 31st Street to the east, 10th Avenue to the south, and McGowan Boulevard to the north. We have a presentation from staff.
Yes, Your Honor. So I wanted to start off by saying that we started a little different process this year. Rather than sending out a cover letter, the TAC memo, and all that information we mailed it out to 1,205 residents. In this case, we actually did a postcard, so less postage, less printing, and then there's a QR code. So we had a landing page so they go right to the web page. Today we had 221 out of the 1,205 residents that actually went to the website, which is 18.3% of the people that got the notice. So just a little bit different way to do it, more effective, efficient government. Try something different. So with that, this is kind of the area that we're talking about. A normal street, if it was built today, is built 26 foot wide, back of curb to back of curb, and allows for parking on one side. There was a policy that we approved back in 23, and that was for the older parts of town. And in that, we have the same thing with the 26 foot wide. And then these are only existing streets. So if a street was built today, it has to meet SUDA standards today. But if we have a street that's between 21 and 25 feet, we're still going to allow one side to have parking. But if they're 20 feet wide or less, then the city engineer and fire chief need to determine if there should be parking depending on the situation. And there was a lot of parts in the old part of Marion that if we didn't have this in here, there'd be like 15 blocks of no parking on the street. And so that's why we made that. This doesn't happen here in this area, but just for background and for context. When we picked the locations for what side of the street gets the no parking, we tried to leave the most amount of parking as possible. So we looked at driveways, fire hydrants, mailboxes, to try and leave the neighborhood as least impactful as possible. So I'll let the public come up and speak, and then we do have 5 residents that emailed in that you guys received ahead of time as well.
Okay, and then we'll have time for questions for you, Mike, during the resolution discussion. Okay. So at this time, the public comment period is open. If anyone is here to address council on this measure, please come forward. Okay, we'll ask the staff if we received any additional comments outside of this meeting.
Yes, as Mike stated, we received 5 emails in advance of the meeting. Connie Kordick wrote in opposition. John Kaflish wrote in opposition. Jen Simon wrote in support. Danette Chavez wrote in support, and Lynn Bowser wrote in support.
Okay? Seeing that no one else is coming forward from the audience here to address council on this measure, we will close the public comment period and then proceed to the motion to receive and file the report.
Mayor, I'd like to make a motion to receive and file the Traffic Advisory Committee report regarding recommendations for no parking within the area bound by 10th Street to the west, 31st Street to the east, 10th Avenue to the south, and McGowan Boulevard to the north.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve the motion to receive and file the Traffic Advisory Committee report regarding recommendations for the no parking within the area bounded by 10th Street, 31st Street, 10th Avenue, and McGowan Boulevard. Any discussion on the motion to receive and file the report and the recommendations? Okay, we'll vote. All those in favor of receiving and filing the Traffic Advisory Committee report and recommendations, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, please say no. The motion has been approved.
Mayor, I move to approve resolution number 32945, approving the recommendations for no parking within the area bound by 10th Street to the west, 31st Street to the east, 10th Avenue to the south, and McGowan Boulevard to the north, which is area 4.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve resolution number 32945, approving the recommendations for no parking within the area bound by 10th Street, 31st Street, 10th Avenue, and McGowan Boulevard. Discussion. Just to be clear, though, this isn't, it's not no parking, right? I mean, you've explained that there are exceptions.
Yeah, so most of the streets, we're just taking parking away from one side. I
Right,
don't know if
so-
there's any street we're taking away from both sides.
Yeah, I just didn't want it to be perceived by the public that there's going to be no parking in that whole area. So just the way the resolution is worded. So go ahead,
Yeah.
Mr. Jensen.
Yeah, so Mike, I did look at the comments we received, and particularly at Connie Cordix, and she lives at 1595 Henderson. And the section we're talking about, or she's referring to, is it's basically kind of like an S, where it goes, swerves one way and it swerves back the other way. And her comment was, and if I'm reading this and understanding it correctly, she would live up more on kind of the south side, or the side that would have parking on it. The side across from her house is the side that you would have no parking. Her comment in her email states that the other side of the street that we are now moving to no parking is actually the side of the street that has the majority of cars currently parked in the street. So when I drove that this afternoon, I really didn't see it. You got a curve this way, then another curve that way. So I'm trying to look at, I didn't see a difference between one side of the road or the other. You don't have mailboxes. I didn't see anything else other than that. So I'm just wondering if that particular street, if that's something we should consider in reference to where that neighborhood is actually parking their cars. And I don't know if you see that there's a difference of one side to the other. That's what I'm asking you.
Yeah, so this is the area, but it's partially cut off on the total length. But in her area, so from from James West, it's about the same. So it's 1 foot difference between the two parking. However, the block to the east does have a significant difference
Difference in what?
in lineal foot available for parking. So that might be-
Lineal foot available, okay?
Yeah, so we like to stay consistent, not flip sides, keep it consistent. So it's no parking on one side of the street continuously rather than have it no parking on this side and then no parking on the other side. So we went to the total length. So we went clear from Douglas all the way back and added that total amount. And the side of the street that had the most available parking is what we're recommending.
And I'm assuming where she lives is kind of in the middle of
Yeah, I
that.
say it's down.
Yeah, right in the middle of that. So I'm pretty sure she's not concerned about cars parking up on the
Other block.
upper right part of that. And I see, if I'm looking at that, there's more houses on the initial section down to the lower left. So, I mean, usually we have more comments about, I don't want parking on my side, or there's a reason for it. And we've looked at those streets and made some changes in the past. So, I mean, I drove it, I looked at it. I mean, I could go either way on it. I wanted to understand your rationale, but understanding what is actually happening in that neighborhood, I would, if there's any consideration to change it. I don't know if there's support from anybody else, but that's the only one that had a comment similar to that or had some substantiation on why she didn't like it. So anyway, that's just my background and reference for her response.
And we have done it before. We've signed it and said, let's see how it goes, because they don't know yet. And it's something that she could then bring back and say it's an issue, or PD's out there issuing citations all the time. So we can look at it in the future too.
I mean, if people are, if what she's saying is true, I'm assuming the people that are parking in the street are on that, more on the north side, and they're parking right in front of their house currently. They're not going to be parking on the opposite side of the street. And now we're forcing them to park on the opposite side. So to me, I think you're going to have, there may be something come up in the future if we don't make a change. So just my observation.
Councilmember Harper?
Thank you. So on that same point, I think maybe it's worth just if it's possible to get a visual reevaluation of that with active parking going on, see what really is going on in that section. And, potentially before we put signs in place, if the reevaluation says make it the opposite side, that I think would be responsive to the residents' concern. But you have to use your professional judgment on that. The question that I did have is, can you give a little more context about the process that the fire department and your department will use to evaluate these 15 blocks and what's really necessary? Give us a little more context about that.
Sure. That's where we'll have to sit down and say, okay, these are the streets that are really narrow. How often, obviously the more parking that we can take away is going to make it safer for the resident, but having a happy medium. So it's just something we're gonna have to sit down at TAC and talk through of, maybe we go every other east-west street and every other north-south street. It's just something, an iterative process that we're gonna have to figure out.
So that'll be a consideration that goes before the Traffic Advisory Committee?
Yep.
Already has.
Okay. And maybe just for the interest of those in the listening audience, what groups are represented on the TAC?
So it's police, fire, planning, city arborist, engineers, deputy city manager. So, I mean, you got a variety of staff.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
So if that is a motion, what I would recommend is you approve it, or you modify it to say, just take Henderson Drive, say approve all recommendations other than Henderson Drive. That way we can get the most of it approved, and then we can come back with Henderson Drive if you want that.
I think that would require an amendment to the motion. So,
I'll do that. So Mayor, I'd like to make a motion to amend resolution number 32945, approving the recommendations for no parking within the area bound by 10th Street to the west, 31st Street to the east, 10th Avenue to the south, and McGowan Boulevard to the north, except for Henderson Drive, which will be reevaluated in the future.
Second.
okay, we moved and seconded to amend resolution 32945 to approve the recommendations of the Traffic Advisory Committee with the exception of Henderson Drive. Is that accurate, Mike? Okay. Any discussion on amending the motion? Okay, all those in favor of amending the motion to approve the recommendations of the Traffic Advisory Committee with the exception of Henderson Drive, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, say no. Okay, the motion is now amended to approve resolution 32945, approving the recommendations of the Traffic Advisory Committee with the exception of Henderson Drive. Any further discussion on the amended motion? All those in favor of the motion, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, say no. Okay. The motion is approved, and we'll hear further about Henderson Drive in the future. Okay. This time we have a public hearing regarding the 2026 sidewalk repair project. We have a presentation.
Yeah, so I'm going to take you a little bit back into memory lane. So if you remember when we were set up at Linn-Mar temporarily while we were remodeling City Hall, Taylor came and gave you a presentation on changing our process. So it used to be we inspected half the city every other year. So everybody's sidewalk got inspected every 4 years. Instead, we switched it to quadrants. So with the quadrants, right now we're doing the southwest, and then it goes counterclockwise each year. And then also what we heard a lot about was, doing it as a group project rather than having the individual homeowners having to find contractors to do this process. So this green parcel is the area that we inspected this year. There was 4,600 parcels that were inspected. Not all of them have sidewalk, but of the ones that did, 222 sidewalk defect locations were noted by our staff. And so how we have the program set up is the homeowners have until July 26th to get the work done themselves. If they don't, then they basically automatically opt in to the city project. And so then the city project, we would let that project. So we would get competitive bids. We go with a low bidder, just like we would on any infrastructure project. And then that contractor would go and do those repairs for all the locations that we have noted. And I know it's hard to see on this, but every red dot is a location that has sidewalk that needs to be fixed. So,
Thank you. And then this is the cost assessed.
So they have choices then for that. If it's less than $500, they can just write us a check. If they don't pay it by the deadline for that less than 500, it does go on their taxes, but only for 1 year. If it's over $500, they have the same option. They can either pay right away if they want to. If it's more than $500, it does go on their tax roll for 10 years at 9% interest if they want to go with that option. So that's why we have to do the resolution of necessity and everything that we're going to do as part of this public hearing so that we can assess to get that payment from them.
So we'll wait for questions when we get to the resolution.
Your Honor, I think there's something material to the hearing that we should state.
Go ahead.
And that is, I'll say it in grant speak and then somebody can decode this for me. But state law assigns responsibility for the maintenance and repair of each resident's abutting sidewalk. Isn't that a true fact?
The state does, and so does our city ordinance as well. And then the reason for the accelerated timeline is there was some state code that was passed. I don't recall if it was updated again this year, but basically once we know of an issue, it needs to be fixed. And so that's why there's such a tight time frame. Because it used to be when we had this program and there was a lawsuit because someone tripped on a sidewalk, we can say, look, we have the sidewalk inspection program. We make people keep their sidewalks intact. They took that away and we could still be liable for that. So that's why there's an accelerated timeline on this.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. The public, is that all, Mike? Yep. The public hearing is open. Anyone's here to address council with regard to this measure, please come forward. Hi.
Hi. My name is Joy Talley and I live at one of those homes that you guys, and actually my sidewalk comes up and it's not my fault. It's your guys' tree. It's not mine. I have to call the city constantly to have the tree taken care of. If you do a sidewalk there, I understand completely, but the root system is gonna bring that right back up because it's an old tree. It's a beautiful tree. I love the tree, don't get me wrong. But it's causing, that's where my problem is. It's right there. And I do in-home care for this lovely town and I don't get paid very much to pay for that. So seeing that's a huge dent in one of my paychecks. And yeah, I mean, it is a tripping hazard. I've seen it. I've taken pictures of it. As soon as I moved in, I've gradually taken, but I've asked people and they've just said the city, that's a city tree. And I know that for sure by a person that works for the city, that is a city tree. And so that they would, I don't feel like, I can't, I mean, like I say, if we cut it down, if you take care of the concrete there, the roots are just gonna keep coming.
Also, when the city did,
Oh, I'm sorry, ma'am.
Could you
please state your name and address, if you don't mind?
Joyce Talley, 1540 24th Street. When the city did have the tree trimmed, probably, I'm not sure exactly the time frame, but it was in the same day. I would say at least within the 2 to 3 hours, a big limb fell. And just right before it fell, a nice big red pickup truck went by and it was a new one. And I thought, thank God it fell after that truck went by because I don't think you would have been very happy.
Yeah.
But anyway, right behind him was a neighbor of ours and he stopped and he said, hey, I'll just throw that in the back end of my truck. Well, Joy and her and him, neither one could get it in he had to go get his cut it down and cut it in two because it was that big a limb. So I don't know.
I mean, it's a beautiful tree, but if it has to go, we understand. But at the same time, like if you don't take care of the tree, you can't take care of the sidewalk because it's gonna keep coming back. And I can't afford to keep paying out because I plan on living here for quite some time. I'd like to. Born and raised here.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone else wishing to address council? Anyone else wishing to address council on this measure, please come forward. We'll ask the staff if we received comments outside the meeting.
I have not received any.
I know Taylor has met with several just one-on-one, ask questions and stuff, but I don't have a list.
But we don't
of
have
those.
any comments that's submitted to the council.
No, and I would say anybody that's listening to this or those that just spoke, his name and number should be on the letter that they got. If they call him and talk to him about it, he can work stuff out with them.
Who's him?
Taylor.
Okay.
Chittick.
All right. Okay, so we'll note that for the record. We'll close the public hearing.
Mayor, I move to approve resolution number 32946, approving final resolution of necessity regarding the 2026 sidewalk repair project.
Second.
Okay, moved by Council Member Menser, seconded by Council Member Brandt to approve resolution number 32946, approving the final resolution of necessity regarding the 2026 sidewalk repair project. Discussions or questions for Mike? Go ahead, Steve.
Just a quick question, Mike. I like the concept of this group repair project. I think that makes a lot of sense because especially this year, getting concrete on small projects is going to be very difficult due to the concrete price and the demand. So if we do that with this July 26th, after that date, and by the time you go out to bid, do we anticipate being able to get all those repairs done in this calendar year yet? Is that the goal?
I mean, that's the goal. We'll have to
Okay.
see, obviously, weather plays into it and everything
Yeah.
else. But yeah, the goal is to get as much done as we possibly can.
Okay, very good, thanks.
Councilmember Menser.
So what is the appeal or for a resident in a case like this, or if there's a question about it, we're approving this and then what is that next step if for folks who feel that or they can't afford it or this is not going to work? Like what are resident options?
Sure. So they can write a formal appeal if they don't believe that it's their responsibility. Let's say they feel like it's the neighbor's panel that heaved and theirs hasn't moved. So they just write a formal appeal. And then we review that.
Who's the appeal to?
To me, or one of my deputies. I'll have to look at I'll have to read the letter that they sent. But again, if they reach out to Taylor Chittick, he's the one that is managing this program. He can help them through that process.
Okay, so there is a process for someone to object to their being required to fix it.
Yep.
Okay.
Taylor Chittick?
Yeah, Mike can speak with you after the meeting if it's okay, and then he can give you the information. Would that be okay? All right.
And then as far as financial assistance, that's not something that we have done in the past. That's something that we can certainly look at as we move forward. But other than the 10 years at 9% interest, that's really the only option at this point that I'm aware of.
Mike, if we can, I think one of the things that we talked about, and we might have to refresh my memory, but when we were at Linmar, the cost, one of the goals of us bidding this out is to bring the cost per unit down. So we hope that there's a cost savings as part of that process. If we're going to be bidding out that entire quadrant of the community, that's going to bring it down instead of individual homeowners going off and talking to the contractor on their own.
And I don't want it to sound like I'm not for it. I mean, this is an important project for the community. We need people walking safely. We need safe sidewalks, and obviously the city can't incur all of it, but I know we're trying to work with people to make this a workable program for everybody, but thank you.
Okay, Councilmember Uniman, and then
Mike, my question to you is, say a resident like the gentle lady that just came out here to talk about the city tree on the right of way that's pushing up the sidewalks. Who is responsible for that?
Seth, who's technically responsible for city trees in the right of way sidewalk?
Yeah, so the city trees in the right of way, that's the responsibility of the city. So it's our city arborists, our urban forestry team that manages those right of way trees.
So when the roots damages my sidewalk, who's responsible for fixing my sidewalk?
It is the homeowner that's responsible for the sidewalk.
anything else? Okay. Mr. Miskimen.
Thanks. Sarah took actually most of my questions, so thank you. But the other part of that is, with this process, do we have an idea, as we've kind of, I know we probably won't know until we bid, but do we have an idea of what, and it varies based off what the damage to the sidewalk is, but do we have kind of an idea of average cost for homeowners through this
Yeah,
process?
and that's part of the notification that they got. It actually has each address and the price based on the square footage. And so with that, with the preliminary assessment, so we used to do assessments. Not all council was here when we did that. But when we do a preliminary assessment, that sets the ceiling. So let's say concrete prices double, labor doubles, and we get bids that are twice what we put in there as a preliminary assessment. The preliminary assessment is the max. So if we get really good bids, it can go down and we can assess less, but we cannot assess more than preliminary assessment. So they've already been given that dollar amount. So, one example here, it's $1,000. Another one, it's 44528. So it just matters on how many panels they got marked on it. So we threw a number at it that we, just like we do for all our projects, we give an engineer's estimate.
Okay, thanks. And then just a comment. I am a fan of this process overall because it does make this issue more affordable than it used to be. But I would be open to, in the future, an idea of some sort of assistance if people meet certain standards that maybe we'll have a hard time affording this, especially just in today's day and age with everything going up. And I just think it's just a role of government. It's what we can do to help even bring that lower for people in most in need. That would be best.
Mr. Harper.
Well, in recognizing Councilmember Uniman's comment or question, I think we have the potential, given certainly our reforestation effort, and really to think forward in the future of how would we handle situations where it's a city-owned tree in city right-of-way that damages the sidewalk that's in public right of way that is the responsibility of the homeowner per state code. It seems to me we have some clashing requirements there. So I think as part of this near-term process, I would recommend that we at least think about this as a policy setting endeavor as well. But I would certainly defer that to city staff on that. Because with our replanting, reforestation effort, this might end up being an issue 15, 20 years out. And anyway, I think we just need to get ahead of it.
If I may just add a few comments. Every comment that you've made is very, very much taken in perspective to the decisions of the sidewalks and of course the reforestation plan. In this particular situation, just looking at the aerial, I noticed that the sidewalk is jutted out a little bit, and I'm sure that at the time when the tree was planted, we wanted to keep the tree. And so then the sidewalk kind of jutted out to save that tree. In light of that, though, in this particular situation, this is something that we would take a look at to see what is the longevity of that tree. There are ways that you can cut out certain roots to be able to put that sidewalk back in. But again, we have to review it, take a look at it, and work with the contractor and work with Mike Simperich just to kind of determine what is the best situation there, because we too don't want to have to replace the sidewalk over and over again, knowing that the tree is going to continue to get bigger. So those are some things and objectives that we definitely will take a look at. So I don't want to be remiss in yes, it's the property owner's responsibility, but we will review and take a look as to what is the best situation for the particular homeowner.
Anyone else? So just to be clear, there's recourse for the individual homeowners after today. If this is approved, there's still recourse for them to appeal it, and staff will look at it, and then that's where the determination's made.
Correct.
Okay. Oh, go ahead, Ryan.
Thank you, Your Honor. There's a lot of discussion, so just kind of summarize. It's an annual program. I think most of our comparables do this. I think most communities across the state do this, kind of an inspection program because it does create liability. This is just establishing the resolution of necessity so that if homeowners choose not to do it themselves or have their own contractor do this, that we would bid it out as a larger project and kind of help on that front. So residents still have the option. Our forester, Mike Simperich, is available if folks do have questions about trees in the right of way. Maintenance, we do have a regular maintenance program, so our forestry staff is going around and taking care of those trees. So if folks have questions, we're happy to answer those and kind of look at the individual situation that they're in.
Okay. Any other questions or comments, discussion? Okay, we'll vote. All those in favor of approving resolution number 32946. Please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, please say no. Okay, the motion is approved. Next item is a public hearing on the Lucor Road Pedestrian Bridge and Side Path Project. Presentation, Mike?
Yep. So again, want to go back in time a little bit. So if you recall, we had a petition a while ago. The people in Hunter's Ridge were actually using this bridge to cross this area in order to get to the rest of the trail system, and that was not a safe condition. We actually even got $100,000 from Lynn County Trails Association to help spur the design of this project, and then we got money through the CMPO, through the trail funds to build this. So this basically starts north of the bridge. So the green line is the existing trail or side path that was built. We'll build a little bit more of that, and then there's actually a a pedestrian bridge similar to the others that we build where it comes on a crane, we set it, and then we pour the floor of it. And then building a side path that then connects to Lucor Road and to Indian Creek Road and all the existing trail networks. So it's a nice regional connection that gets in there. This was bid through the DOT. So the low bid was Rachi Construction at $698,971.64, 86.2% of the engineer's estimate. Has a late start date of April of 5th of 27, 65 working days, and $1,000 per day in working day damages if they go beyond the 65 working days. So we are recommending proceeding with the plans and bids for this project.
Okay, thank you. Stick around for questions. At this time, the public hearing is open. If anyone's here to address council regarding the Lucor Road pedestrian bridge and side path project, please come forward. While we're waiting, we'll ask the staff if anyone has submitted comments outside the meeting.
I have not received any.
I have not.
Okay, please note that for the record. One last call for anyone to address council on this measure. Okay, we'll close the public hearing, proceed to the motion. Mr. Harper.
Thank you, Your Honor. I move to approve the project calendar regarding the Lucor Road pedestrian bridge and side path project as follows. Resolutions 32947 through 32948.
Second.
Been moved and seconded to approve the project calendar for the Lucor Road pedestrian bridge and side path project, including resolutions 32947 through 32948. Discussion or questions for the city engineer? Go ahead.
Yeah, Mike, I think you had an April of next year late start date. Do we have any indication that they would start any earlier than that?
So the bridge is pre-manufactured and then brought on a semi. So once this goes through all the processes that it has to, they would start manufacturing it. They could do some pier work or something, but generally they got to wait for it to be manufactured and delivered. So just like CMAR, we just put 3 bridges in for that. So that we're giving them the flexibility to get that manufactured and delivered.
Okay, but other than the delivery of materials, there's nothing that would keep them from starting early.
Nope, if they wanted to start early, it certainly could. Winter work is actually allowed and there's no days charged between 11/15/2026 to 4/1/2027. So they could certainly start during the winter and if conditions promote.
Okay, thanks.
Any other questions or discussion? Okay, all those in favor of approving the project calendar for the Lucor Road pedestrian bridge and side path project, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say no. Okay, the motion is approved. Next item is a public hearing on the alley vacation and disposal for the 10-foot by 60-foot north-south alley between lots 3 and 4 in block 1 of Myers Addition. We have a presentation, Nicole.
Yeah, good afternoon, Mayor and City Council. So the applicant, Mr. Dirks, has requested to vacate and purchase the 10 by 60 foot grass alley behind his property, which is 940 10th Street. For reference, the Granger House is just north of that east-west alley that's located on the top of the image. So the applicant has been maintaining this grass section of alley for the past about 45 plus years. Looking at the Lynn County aerials, we do this to help provide background and history on how the alley's been used and functioned over the decades. Let's see here. So back in 1950, you can kind of see there where the red is where that vacation request is located. That light gray and that aerial does signify a grassy area. And as we move through 1990 and then current aerials today, that alley segment has been grass, again, since the 1950s. So vehicular traffic has not been traversing that area. These are the current existing conditions of that alley segment. During the kind of late 2000s, the applicant did install a gate at the south end of the alley. So we can kind of see that right there where the arrow is. And that was to prevent vehicles from driving through the grass alley after a rainfall. He said that it happened on occasion. It wasn't frequent, but it would happen. That alley does kind of dip down. It would create mud and ruts in that area. Per the Marion Public Alleyway Maintenance Program, grass alleys are classified as a level C. Level C alleys do not support vehicular traffic and are considered to provide minimal public benefit. With that, the city is also working on a vacation and disposal for alleyways. While looking into that policy, the intent is not to convert grass alleys into ones that would be used for vehicular traffic. So we wouldn't be adding gravel or pavement to existing grass alleys. But as you can see here, looking at that left image, we're looking south from that east-west alley, just south of the Granger House property. It is a 10-foot wide section. The neighbor's garage does sit kind of right up there towards that alley property line. And then on the right image, that's looking from 9th Avenue. There is the southern portion of this block that does have an alley that is used by those property owners on the south side to access their rear garages. And then that grass portion is located on the northern side of this block. For the acquisition, so for our policy, we did reach out to the two property owners that abut the requested vacated alley portion. So that'd be Ms. Farmer and Mr. and Mrs. Christner. They both responded back that they do not utilize that grass alley and they do not wish to purchase their half of the alley. So we have shown on this screen that the applicant, Mr. Dirks, would obtain that full 10 by 60 foot alley with the associated cost. I do want to note that Ms. Christner did state she does utilize the southern portion of that alley, again, to access her rear garage off of 9th Avenue. That southern alley segment is not a part of the vacation request. So just wanted to put that out there for the public record. So we did have public comments that were made prior to the June 9th Planning and Zoning Commission meeting, as well as during that public hearing. Within the council memo, there was a link to the Planning and Zoning minutes for reference. And staff did receive the following written comments. So up here on the screen, we've got Ms. Farmer and Ms. Christner, both in support of the alley vacation. As I stated prior, they don't utilize that grass and felt that Mr. Dirks could utilize it better. The other comments that we received that were written were from Mr. Borden. We did receive 5 submitted written comments in opposition to the request. I'll summarize as I flip through the following slides. So his opposition requests or statements may note that the vacation would continue to impose shared access limitations for those for property owners that do have access to that southern alleyway, since it is only half utilized from north to south. That the non-abutting property owners did not sign off on the application to vacate that northern grass alley, the 10 by 60, and that a public benefit would be lost if the grass alley is vacated. Included within his comments of opposition were also requests for records. Staff has been in communication with him regarding the records requests. So looking at kind of that enlarged image of the southern part of the block there, again, our real property sales and lease policy. So we do look at that when we look at vacation requests and disposal requests. Within that policy, it does state that the entire alley end to end, so right of way to right of way, should be considered for vacation, so it does not create a dead end. In this case, there's already a dead end in existence due to the alley being requested for vacation is already grass. So it's not a new dead end that would be created. So we felt that we could move forward with this request. The policy also states that an alley providing existing access to properties should be considered as providing a public benefit. In this case, again, the alley being grass is not providing an existing access to any of the properties. They all have access off of either 9th Street, 10th Street, or even that east-west alley to the north of 933 9th Street and 940 10th Street. Both fire and police reviewed the alley vacation and disposal request and stated that their services would not be impacted if this request was approved. The Planning and Zoning Commission did recommend approval of the vacation request, subject to a utility easement being maintained over the area. They voted 8-0 based off of staff's recommendation.
Okay. At this time, the public hearing is open. If anyone's here to address council, either in favor or in opposition to this measure, please come forward.
Good evening. I'm Zephyr Borden. I am the resident at 913 9th Avenue. I object to final action on this alley vacation tonight, and I request the council table this item. This matter did not begin as a neutral vacation request. It began with my official complaint that a public right-of-way was being privately blocked, controlled, and treated as private property. The complaint, the city's inspection records, communications with the alleged obstructing party, and the city's handling of enforcement versus vacation are not side issues. They are the central facts council needs before it can lawfully determine whether this public alley is of no benefit to the public under Iowa Code 354.23. The city's current position appears to be that my original obstruction complaint is not part of the vacation record because it was made before the formal vacation application. That reasoning is circular and prejudicial. The fact that my complaint came before the vacation application is precisely what makes it material. It shows the vacation proceeding followed a public right-of-way obstruction complaint. Excluding that history creates a misleading record by making the vacation appear disconnected from the obstruction and enforcement issue that triggered it. A lack of current public use cannot be used as proof of no public benefit when the lack of use has been caused by that private obstruction only, and the gates, chains, no trespassing sign, private control, and city non-enforcement are not an actual lack of need for the public. A privately obstructed public alley does not become useless to the public merely because the public was blocked from using it. I repeatedly requested under Iowa Code Chapter 22, including records of my original complaint, inspection records, communications, staff notes, packet materials, and records showing how an enforcement complaint became a vacation proceeding. I clarified my request multiple times, requested rolling production, and preserved in writing that the records were needed before public hearing and final action. The city has continued to move this vacation forward while citing clarification, review, fees, possible redactions, and timing language without providing meaningful records in time for me or the public to build a proper record before this decision. That is prejudicial. Records produced after tonight's vote do not cure the harm because the purpose of those records is to allow affected residents and the public to understand, challenge, and respond before council acts. I'm also preserving my objection that the city's omission of my initiating complaint and related records appears to be record shaping. It suppresses the evidence showing public benefit, public access, obstruction, and enforcement concerns while creating a cleaner record for a predetermined no public benefit finding. Whether intentional or not, the effect is the same. The public record is incomplete and materially misleading. I am not asking council to resolve every factual dispute tonight. I am asking council not to make a final public benefit finding on an incomplete and contested record while the city is still withholding the very records that explain the origin, handling, and public access history of this alley. The proper action tonight is to table this item, order staff to produce all non-exempt responsive Chapter 22 records on a rolling basis, provide a written redaction or withholding log for anything withheld, include the original obstruction complaint and related records in the public packet, and then allow affected residents a meaningful opportunity to respond before any final action. For those reasons, I object to final action tonight and request this alley vacation be tabled.
Thank you. Do you mind turning the yellow card over to the
Absolutely.
clerk? Thank you so much. Anyone else wishing to address council either in favor or in opposition, please come forward.
I'm Eddie Dirks and I live at 940 10th Street. And I've lived at that property for 45 plus years. Well, more than that, even 60 years, because it was my folks' house before that. I lived there. And the whole time that I've lived there, it's always been a grass alley. As far as I know, it was utility easements because my dad wanted to purchase that property years ago. And it's good. There was a utility run through there, so he couldn't build on it. So he decided not to at that time. I don't plan on building on the property, and I did put a gate up there years ago, just for the fact that people were destroying the property by driving through, because it floods there every year. Every time we get a rain, it floods, and they just tear it all up. And then I have to fix it all fix everything with grass and bring dirt in and everything. I have never locked the gate. It's an actual gate, so people can get through there. And I've let my neighbors that when I put the gate up, none of the neighbors that I have currently were there at the time because it's been years ago, and everybody wanted it shut, so we did. As a group, we did put the gate there. So, but the utilities or anybody that wanted to get through could open the gate and come through as they wanted to. As you can see, it's a very narrow alley. It's like 10 by 60. There's garages on both sides. If you pull, and it pulls into that one's east, let's see, north-south. Then we have an east-west alley that it runs into, which is the Granger House on the other side of my property. So in order for a person to drive through that alley, and they have to be in the alley before they could even see what's coming from the west because of the garage block in their view, which causes a very concern too. I mean, we have kids that ride their bicycles. We have neighbors that ride their scooters through there. If we've got people coming through there and you can't see where anything coming from the west, they could get hit, or pull right out in front of them. They could get hit, but that's beside the point. Like I said, I've lived there all my life, and I just don't want people to destroy that property because it's, I mean, driving through it. But I'm a terrible public speaker, but I've lived there all my life, and I just wanted to protect the properties all.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else address council on this measure?
Good afternoon. I'm Laura Farmer. I live at 933 9th Street, or lot number 3 on the map there. Ed is my neighbor. I have known Ed for many years. I purchased that property and I've lived there since 2009. In all of that time, Ed has maintained the north-south alley. He has also been gracious enough to snow blow the entire east-west alley and all of the sidewalks for all 6 of those properties. he does that just because he's a good guy. And so I have every faith that Ed will continue to maintain that north-south alley, and I'm in favor of him purchasing it. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else to address council, please come forward. Ask the staff if we received comments outside the meeting.
The only comments staff received were the ones that were shown in the PowerPoint.
Yeah, planning staff didn't receive anything further than what was shown.
Okay, we'll close the public hearing.
Mayor, I move to approve resolution number 32949, approving the vacation of the 10-foot by 60-foot north-south alley between lots 3 and 4, Block 1, Myers Addition, Marion, Iowa. This is brought by Eddie Dirks.
Second.
Moved and seconded to approve resolution number 32949, approving the vacation of the 10-foot by 60-foot north-south alley between lots 3 and 4, Block 1, Myers Addition. Okay, discussion, questions for Nicole?
Yeah, Your Honor.
Go ahead.
Yeah. So just for the record, I just want to state that the 4 properties on the southern aspect of this will retain full access rights for that southern portion of the alleyway.
That is correct.
Okay. And then I did take some interest in the comments that Mr. Borden made during the public hearing. I guess the question that I generally have about that, did our city attorney have awareness of those points of inquiry?
Yes, she did.
Okay. All right. Did she provide any overarching guidance or anything with respect to that? Or how did she view this, the vacation request coupled with the concerns that were cited?
Hi, I'm Amy Briesner. I'm sitting in for Kara Bullerman, who's absent at this point. I'm at Lynch Dallas Legal Services outside counsel for the city. Ms. Bullerman provided me some information in advance of this meeting and stated that she believed that the vacation was appropriate, given the fact that it had been used in the fashion that has been described for this period of time. It is not creating a dead end. There's nothing in the policy that says the entire alley must be vacated. And staff waived the requirement by directing the applicant only to apply to vacate his half of the property. And the city attorney views this as a cleanup of property records and also that it doesn't change anything about use or maintenance.
Okay. Thank you. Yeah, Your Honor, just one general question about alley vacations. We've over the last, since I've been on council, we've seen several of these vacation requests. I discern that it's kind of our objective to, whenever there is a willingness to purchase an alleyway, that we should examine that and bias ourselves to making that a favorable determination. Because as in the older portions of this city, these were platted with alleys, but the alleys fundamentally don't have any real public use at this time. Is that kind of how we're viewing the world?
Yes, and that goes back to that policy that staff is currently working on for the vacation disposal of alleys, based off of classifications.
Sure.
But if an alley is being used by the public, then do we still, does our objective of vacating the alleys override that, or?
I would say it'd be a case-by-case basis. There's other things that we could do. For example, if we were to vacate the southern portion of this, then there would have to be an access easement across that vacated property. We wouldn't necessarily look at selling it because there are other property owners using it, but it would be some sort of agreement for use between those property owners. So there's a way to do it, but our practice has always been to not vacate ones that have direct access off of.
Would you repeat that? Sorry.
So our practice for alley vacations is to not vacate alleys where there's direct access off of for adjacent property owners.
Okay.
We would not want to restrict their access to the rear of the property if that is where their garage is.
Regardless of whether or not it's improved.
If it was grass, we would still look at vacating it, and that's where we reach out to those abutting property owners to see if they're utilizing that alley to access that structure.
So there's the fact that it's grass, put it in a different category.
I would say yes. We don't consider it transverse for vehicles to traverse down. Most of the alleys that we look to keep on the books would be those that are not grass.
Okay. Anyone else? Okay. Anyone willing to entertain the suggestion of the speaker to table it?
Nope.
Okay, we'll vote. All those in favor of approving resolution number 32949, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say no. The motion is approved.
Mayor, move to approve resolution number 32950, approving the disposition of public property described as the 10 by 60 foot north-south alley between lot 3 and 4, block 1, Myers Addition, Marion, Iowa.
Second.
Moved and seconded to approve resolution number 32950, approving the disposition of public property described as the 10-foot by 60-foot north-south alley between lots 3 and 4, Myers Addition, block 1. Discussion on the motion?
There's a question or a confirmation. Just confirm me one more time. By vacating this does not impact anyone's ability to get currently to their garages, right?
Correct.
Okay.
Okay, any other discussion or questions? All right, all those in favor of resolution number 32950, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say no. The motion is approved. Next item is a public hearing on the city-initiated alley vacation for the 10-foot by 120-foot north-south alley between lots 6 and 7, block 8.
So we've got another alley vacation request. This one is being requested by the city. It's to vacate the 10 by 120-foot alley segment. That's the south half of the block. It's situated between fire station number 3 and the associated parking lot. This request does align with the fire department's strategic plan. If you recall a few months ago when they did their presentation on improving response time for fires, that future relocation of Station 3 was mentioned. The area they're looking at is a location further south of town. So this step is a part of that preparation for that relocation that's mentioned within their strategic plan. And it's to help clean up this property and get it ready for future redevelopment. So these are the current conditions. So this alley is a paved alley. Unlike the previous one, this would be classified as an A or B classification. The alley does provide access into that parking lot for those located at Station 3. It also provides access to a property just north of the fire station. Show that here. So there is a garage that is situated just north of this area and serviced off of the north-south alley. So looking at that image on the left-hand side, so we're looking south towards the 8th Avenue there. When we move north along that alley or from this direction south, you can see if you take and extrude that red box for where that 10 by 120 segment is, the alley to the north does transition into mainly a grass alley. That paved section on the left-hand side, based off of aerial imagery, does appear to be mostly on private property. So looking at that image on the right-hand side, again, you can see that it is a paved alley and it does service those at the Fire Station 3. So utilities do exist within this alley. A utility easement would be maintained as part of the approval as well. Within this, we do know that there are water lines and sanitary sewer lines in this area. We do not know the exact location, but vacating this alley does not change where the current access is by placing that utility easement over it. We did receive from Ms. Lehman a email in support along with some additional questions regarding this alley vacation. Staff has been in correspondence with her to help answer those questions regarding her property, how this impacts her property, and if she wanted to install a fence along her property. As I mentioned, as you move north along this alleyway, it does kind of transition more onto private property based off of aerial imagery. It has not been surveyed, but based off of aerial imagery. And so she is looking at installing a fence there. So we have had communications regarding her questions on this, but she is in support of vacating the southern section of the alley. Staff does recommend approval, again, subject to that utility easement. It was heard at the Planning and Zoning Commission meeting on June 9th, and they recommended approval based off of staff's recommendation, 8-0.
Okay, thank you. This time, the public hearing is open. If anyone is here to address council with regard to this measure, please come forward. Did we receive any comments outside the meeting besides the one that was noted?
No additional comments.
We have not either.
Okay, thank you. Please note that for the record. We'll close the public hearing.
Mayor, I'd like to make a motion for resolution number 32951, approving the vacation of the 10-foot by 120-foot north-south alley between lots 6 and 7, block 8, Original Town, Marion, Iowa, and this is brought by the city of Marion.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve resolution number 32951, approving the vacation of the 10-foot by 120-foot north-south alley between lots 6 and 7, block 8, in Original Town of Marion. Discussion? Questions for staff? Go ahead, please.
Yeah. So this vacation effectively unifies lot 6 and lot 7 and maintains the fire department's use of those two lots?
Yes, the lots would be combined.
Any other questions? Okay, all those in favor of approving resolution number 32951, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, say no. Motion is approved. Next item is another public hearing regarding the right-of-way vacation of the northwest portion of Outlot 1 of Isbell's second edition, corner of 6th Avenue and 22nd Street.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. This is a vacation, but it's not an alley. It is regarding proposed vacation of a portion of city right-of-way at the intersection, near the intersection of 6th Avenue and 22nd Street, the vacant lot just west to the Marion Lofts. The right-of-way was previously acquired by the city as part of the 6th Avenue Street Improvement Project. With the project now complete, staff has determined that the portion of right-of-way is no longer needed for public roadway purposes. The proposed vacation would also allow the area to be joined with the adjacent city-owned property just to the south of it. And in addition, as part of the review process that the Marion Water Department, MediaCom, and Windstream were notified of the proposed vacation, and they indicated that he had no objections to it. So based on staff's review of it, and during the June 9th Planning and Zoning Commission, they also recommended approval based on our review that the right-of-way is no longer necessary for public use, and that we recommended approval of the right-of-way vacation.
Okay, thank you. This time the public hearing is open. If anyone's here to address council, either in favor or in opposition to this measure, please come forward. We'll ask the staff if anyone has submitted comments outside the meeting.
I have not received any comments.
Staff did not receive any comments either.
Okay, please note that for the public record. Seeing no one is coming forward for the public hearing, we'll close the public hearing, proceed to the resolution.
Mayor, I move to approve resolution number 32952, approving the right-of-way vacation of the northwest portion of Outlot 1 of Isabel's second edition at the corner of 6th Avenue and 22nd Street, Marion, Iowa.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve resolution number 32952, approving the right-of-way vacation of the northwest portion of Outlot 1 of Isabel's second edition at the corner of 6th Avenue and 22nd Street. Discussion on the resolution? Questions for staff? Okay. All those in favor of approving resolution number 32952, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, say no. The motion is approved.
Mayor, I move to approve resolution number 32953, approving plat of survey number 2967 for the vacated northwest portion of Outlot 1 of Isabel Second Edition at the corner of 6th Avenue and 22nd Street, Marion, Iowa.
Second.
Been moved and seconded to approve resolution number 32953, approving the plat of survey for number 2967 for the vacated northwest portion of Outlot 1 of Isabel's second edition at the corner of 6th Avenue and 22nd Street. Any discussion on approving the plat of survey? All those in favor of approving resolution number 32953, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, say no. The motion is approved. At this time, we have our second public hearing, our public forum, which is a time set aside for comments from members of the public on any topic. Anyone here to address council, please come forward. Welcome.
Thank you, Mayor and members of the council. My name is Becky Lofsgaard Dunk, and I live on Hunters Ridge Road. My husband and I moved from Cedar Rapids to our condo in 1998, and we were among the first residents in the Hunters Ridge development. I'm also the president of our 11-unit condo association. We love our condo, and living in Marion over the last year has been a challenge. The reason? Feral cats. They live in the city sewers, and there are not just one or two of these cats. There's a colony of 8 or more. One of our owners has counted 12 at one time. There's a person in our neighborhood who feeds the cats. And they were previously trapped, neutered, and returned to the neighborhood. The feeder admitted in person to me and on social media that she is feeding 8 strays. These cats have caused thousands of dollars in property damage to porch screens and lower level window screens, porch furniture, furniture covers. They have sprayed patio doors. They've used the lawn and flower beds as litter boxes. And in fact, under some of the decks, it has been described as looking like a giant litter box. Our great-grandson is with us part-time this summer, and we cannot allow him to play in the yard due to the cat feces. In addition, and most importantly, we have owners who have family members who are so highly allergic that exposure to cats and even cat hair is life-threatening. We have tried everything to deter the cats, including using liquid vents, placing objects in the beds and rock areas, scattering large rocks, and replacing flower beds with rocks. We've planted lemon thyme, placed essential oil balls in various areas, placed a solar motion detector with a bright light, and placed an ultrasonic animal repel device. Nothing works. Before we contacted the city about our rights, we contacted the feeder with all the things that we have tried to deter the cats and asked for her suggestions. No response. Also, before we went to the city, we wanted to make sure that it was the cats causing the damage, so we set up a camera. Within 2 hours of installation, the camera picked up cats using the lawn as a litter box. Several of our owners have been working with the city attorney in an effort to get the person feeding the cats to stop. This person has been charged with an infraction. Herein is where the problem lies and where we need your help. There is a mediation scheduled, but not before September, which means we get no relief from continued property damage and the danger from exposure to these cats. The city attorney first notified the feeder to stop last August. She didn't stop, and the cats are still in the area, which tells us they are continuing to be fed. In addition, we see food left near the sewer entry and exit points. There's somebody's just throwing food near where the cats come and go. It is my understanding that Chapter 117 allows the city to capture, trap, and remove any free roaming or community cat that is creating or constituting a public nuisance, which includes interfering with the health, safety, or enjoyment of property. I was advised by the city attorney that while the code authorizes the city to impound feral and nuisance
1 minute
cats,
remaining.
it does not do so. I was given the names of 3 organizations who might help trap and remove. However, when I spoke to representatives of the organizations, they only provide TNR. One organization even suggested we purchase a large pile of sand so that they can use that sand for a litter box on our property. While TNR might be a good solution for 1 or 2 cats, it does nothing when there is a large colony causing damage and safety issues in a neighborhood. I ask that you look at the facts and circumstances, not only of that we are experiencing, but in other areas of the city as well. Please understand, I love animals. My family had cats, dogs, fish, and birds. In fact, our dog and cat saved our family's lives. This is not the same. While these cats might legally be considered
Time is up.
domestic, they are acting like wild animals, just trying to survive, but damaging property and threatening the safety of our families. They live in the city sewers and carry diseases. That's all I have. I'd like to thank you for your time and for your service.
Thank you, Mrs. Dunk. Anyone else to address council on any topic, please come forward. Okay. That brings us to council. I'm sorry. Yes, apparently we have some additional comments received for the public forum. Any?
Yes, 2 comments or 2 emails were received in advance of the meeting. Shown here was from Luke Crawford. He wrote in with concerns with parking at EV stations and limited enforcement. And then Dawn Bowman shared concerns regarding feral cats as well.
Okay. We'll move on to council comments. Start with Mr. Miskimen.
None for me.
Mr. Bill?
Why, yes.
Go ahead.
So you know it's coming in summer. This tomorrow is our third, thinking of weather, Down Dogs in Uptown. That starts at 6 o'clock. It's over here by the depot, free yoga. That will be led by Vela Yoga. We thank them for that partnership. Even when it's warm out, the nice breeze we usually get and being under the tree provides some shade. So please encourage people to attend that. And then we will have our sunrise yoga at Lau Park with Lynn Block on Saturday. She's been one of our original instructors, always draws a crowd. Between the two programs, sunrise yoga, or I should say three, Down Dogs in Uptown, sunrise yoga, and Pilates in the park, even though we are only going to be at July 8th, we have had over 700 people attend the events between Saturdays and Wednesdays. So we're looking for another record attendance summer. It's been a lot of fun. So I encourage people to join us for that event, and also garden volunteers. We're always still looking for garden volunteers. So thanks.
Nothing for me, Your Honor.
Okay. Well, I just want to thank everyone who had a hand in the fireworks and fireflies on Friday night. It was, again, another just beautiful community event. You could really feel the community, and we had a lot of people from our neighboring communities come over to enjoy it. I know it takes many months of preparation and work to put an event like that on, lots of planning and in collaboration with many departments in our city, as well as many volunteers and of course the sponsors who make it possible. So it was a very successful and a beautiful event. I just want to thank everyone who worked on it. I do want to make a comment regarding Mrs. Dunk's remarks. One of the communications I saw, one of the homeowners experienced damage to their car because a cat got in there into the car somehow and caused a lot of damage. So it is I think an issue for the neighborhood. I pride ourselves on being a city that helps people solve their issues, and I would hope personally that we can look at that issue, that we can at least have a discussion on at a future agenda as a future agenda item about it. Other than that, let's continue reaching higher. Tomorrow or Thursday is the Uptown Marion fundraiser, Eat, Drink, and Be Marion. I hear they may be sold out, maybe, but should be another fun event for the entire community. Thank you for all your great work. Thanks for thanks for always reaching higher and helping us to make Marion a standout community, one of Iowa's premier communities. Okay, we do have a closed session this evening. Mr. Harper?
Yes, Your Honor. I move to adjourn to closed session regarding real estate transactions as permitted under section 21.51J of the Code of Iowa.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to adjourn to closed session regarding real estate transactions as permitted under section 21.51J of the Code of Iowa. May we have the legal counsel statement, please?
Yes, Your Honor, I have analyzed the reason for the purpose of the closed session and have concluded that it would be a lawful reason to go into closed session under 21.51J of the Code of Iowa.
Okay, with that, we'll take the roll call vote, please.
Mr. Miskman?
Yes.
Mr. Uniman?
Yes.
Mr. Judson?
Yes.
Mayor Abu Wassili?
Yes.
Mr. Brandt?
Yes.
Ms. Menzer?
Yes.
Mr. Harper?
Yes.
Thank you for joining us. Have a great week. We're now adjourned to closed session.
I did, yeah, okay.
Rachel, I'm gonna remember that.
Yeah. Extra work.